Welcome in to Clips and Dip. I'm Adam Oslin. We got Will Updike and a special guest here today participating with us. If you're watching on the YouTube, you already see him. That's at Clips and Dip Podcast on YouTube. Also get to us at Clippers Pod on X. Got a good show coming up. We'll talk about the latest with Russell Westbrook officially signing with the Denver Nuggets. We'll touch upon Kevin Durant still being with Team USA while Kawhi Leonard was sent home. An interesting situation there. But first, without further ado, let's bring in our guy from Clutch Points, clutch appearance from the one and only Tomer Azarly, fresh off of just returning from Vegas. He was there the entire Summer League. I guess we can start there all 11 days. Tomer, thanks for coming back and doing some more work as you arrive home.
No, thank you guys for having me. It's an honor to be on the Clips and Dip show. I'm a little disappointed that Chuck couldn't. I wasn't important enough for Chuck to be here, but that's okay. I
Tua
appreciate you guys being
Tagovailoa,
here.
his quarterback got signed today, so it was just too pressing for him to
Oh, he's got to
show
go
up.
party. Okay.
He got a Paul George-esque contract, as our friend Lucas Hand said. Okay,
No.
Summer League. Give us some of the off-the-court vibe to start with of just what it's like being there. We talked a little bit off the air, but the temperature, how hot it was, the nightlife, the people you could run into. I think it was Jamal Christopher who ran into Kawhi Leonard and took that shot of him and Paul George at a club at 3 a.m, waiting for Lil Wayne to arrive. And that was right after Paul George left the Clippers. So I know it's kind of like you could reach out and actually touch guys type of place, type of setting there. I've been to Edgewood Golf Tournament up in NorCal in Tahoe, and it's the same type of vibe every summer. When you go there, they don't have bodyguards. You can easily be accessible to players and stuff like that. Just what is it like at Summer League in Vegas?
Yeah, it's strange because everyone is, like you said, so accessible, just right there in front of you. Um, I mean, we hit, being there 11 days, you hit 120-degree weather, I think, at some point. It averaged out probably about 114, 115 during the day. We cooled off to a very nice about 99 in the dead of night. So, you know what? That sounds like a joke, but when you walk outside at that point of the day, it feels incredible compared to what it was. So, it definitely makes a difference. No, and then you really do run into NBA players literally everywhere in Vegas. Like you can go to 5 different hotels, like Resorts World, Wynn, Encore, Aria. They're all there everywhere. It's incredible. Um, I think.
Any interesting interactions you had? Are you too
Um,
professional to, fan out or anything like that?
no, I mean, no, I don't really. No, not fanning out, but I mean, I guess I went to watch a show at the Wynn, and I saw Musa there. I saw a couple other players. But you know what? It's so many that you kind of forget who you saw. There weren't really any interactions that stuck out, but they were really everywhere. I mean, Resorts World, there was a couple people. I saw some coaches around. Like it's just Luke Kennard. I did see Luke Kennard at the
Oh
Lawrence Frank press
yeah,
conference. We're just walking out, and Luke Kennard just randomly walks by, just casually with his wife, and I'm like, "What the Luke Kennard? What the how you doing, man?" So
Lukey Dookie.
we caught up for a minute there. That was cool. Um, no, it's just like a basketball haven for like the first 5 days. I think after 5, 6 days, everyone kind of takes off. But those first 4 days, it's like a couple parties here and there. With a tip off party, a media party, this party, the PG and Kawhi concert video that came out. I think that might have been at Access, but I'm not sure. But yeah, I mean it's just like a basketball haven to be around for the first you know 5 days, and then everything kind of trails off, and everyone kind of goes home. But no, it's fun. It's incredible. Outside of the weather, it's incredible. No complaints.
Tomer Azarly, our guest here from Clutch Points, joining us here on Clips and Dip. I'm thinking it's episode 320. Is that in the ballpark at least, Will? How do you feel about that
You
number?
have we've done 20 episodes since the draft already.
Ooh. So now we're talking. So we started season 3 at 300, you're saying?
Yeah.
And since then we've
It
already
restarts every season.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think. 20 episodes seems like a lot, but there's been so much going on as we do officially start when the draft starts. So this is episode 319. I was one off.
Oh wow, it's not
Wow.
bad.
Great work. So aside from the off-court stuff, like what did you see from the Clippers Summer League squad? Did anything stand out? Like I don't know how familiar you were with these draft picks prior to Summer League. Did anything stand out for you? Did anything kind of surprise you?
No, I mean, yeah, there definitely were some things, but I think it was kind of what you'd expect to see, like Kobe and Jordan, Kobe Brown and Jordan Miller entering their kind of second year here. They really took on being the focal points offensively and defensively. I think they were really impressive. Um, just the composure they played with, they maybe if they saw doubles or if they read different situations well. I think they played well top to bottom, like even down to the final game, like they lost by one. Kobe had a chance to tie it with like 1.9 on the clock, so they were right there. Jordan, I think, was really impressive. Just his it sounds kind of cliche, but like it really feels like watching the game slow down for him in real time. Where like I think he was fine last summer, like what you'd expect out of a second round pick, but he was very, very dominant this year in that he didn't really let anyone dictate his play. He was, he didn't. He also didn't do too much. Whether he spotted up in the corner, hit a couple threes, whether he was getting to the basket, threw three pump fakes at a guy, wasn't there, kicked it out. If it was there, drew a foul. Like it was just watching him be under complete control, and kind of control the game throughout. So Jordan Miller was really good. Should have been the MVP in my opinion. I hear it was a close result, but definitely should have been the MVP if you ask me. Kobe Brown was really good. I thought Musa also played well. He was dealing with a minor hand thing. When I saw him at one of the hotels, he had a wrap on his left hand. I'm like, bro, every time I see you, you have a wrap on your left hand. Like, what is going on? So
Musa the
no,
mummy.
but he played well. I thought Cam Christie obviously was thrown into a starting position, and he kind of just gradually got better as the summer league went on. I think he learned to pick his spots a little better. I think you know the I think guys want to be unselfish, but when you're a shooter like him, you got to shoot the damn ball. You're talented. You have a great shot, a quick release. Like you got to put those up. So I think he learned that as it went on. I think in the final game, he scored their first 9, and I think 12 of their first like 18 points. I want to say as they were struggling through it. So yeah, he was fantastic, and he got better as we went on. I think Jordan and Kobe also got. I don't know if I touched on it, but defensively they also really took on the challenge of being those defensive guys for that team. I remember I talked about it a little bit on Twitter, but there was that game against the Jazz where Kyle Filipowski kind of elbowed Kobe Brown in the face, and sitting where we were in the baseline, you could see all of it happen in real time. So I watched him elbow Kobe, and then Kobe. It was like a swim move technique on an baseline inbound, and Kobe didn't thought he was going to get the call, didn't get the call, and Kyle got the ball, was going to go dunk it, and Kobe realized, oh shit, I'm not getting the call. So he went up and he fouled the shit out of him. I'm sorry for cursing, but he blocked the hell out of him, fouled him. And from there on, he took that matchup personal. He said he didn't, but I watched him go at Filipowski like 9 straight possessions in the fourth quarter. He had 5 and 1s in the fourth.
It reminded me of Kobe versus Mike Miller back in the day when they got into it on the court a little bit. Kobe Bryant played great. Okay, maybe the stakes weren't that high or the name recognition, but still.
No, but it definitely was like, he's going to take over this game. And that was impressive to watch. I thought Elijah Harkless was really good. He was a menace defensively. Probably deserves a spot in the league somewhere just off that defensive tenacity alone. Like he gave Scottie Pippen Jr. hell in that final game. He gave Isaiah Collier some trouble as well. So I think they had a really solid team there. I think even Ray J. Dennis. I think everyone's gonna talk about that ill-advised layup he took in transition in that final game, but he was really solid for them throughout the tournament. If you want to call it a tournament. I think Trevor Hudgens is also really good. So they got some solid play from a number of guys, I would say. So, a lot of these guys are probably going to be in their G League team. I think they probably should try to retain them. I wouldn't be surprised if some end up in the NBA in a year or later on this year. But no, it was good to watch. It was really good to watch. It was fun to watch a lot of these guys develop, especially Kobe and Jordan. Though, again, last year being second round picks, being kind of thrust into the situation right away, and this year they really just took on that challenge of being the guys. So that was really fun to watch for sure. And Dante Jones also being the ever emotional coach that he is on the sidelines. Like they get a stop or a charge or something, and he's over here like swinging his fist, flexing, going, "Yeah," like he's a player out there. I was like, you don't see that from a coach, that kind of emotion. He was out there screaming, flexing like on the court. It was incredible to watch. He's another guy who was, I thought, had a really good summer league too.
So looking at like sort of where the Clippers are now in the absence of Paul George and what they need fit wise, is there anybody from the summer league or from the younger Clippers that you could see taking on some sort of rotation minutes in the season this year?
Oh, the answer is Kobe Brown, easily, absolutely easily.
Over Jordan Miller.
There's I mean, you have to look at to me, just have to look at the positional availability. Like they're missing a four. They've been missing a four, and so
Can he play it?
it would be nice to see Jordan play, and I think he played better than Kobe for sure in summer league. Like the immediate pathway to minutes is the four with Kobe Brown. Just like it was last year. We saw it last year as well when they needed a four, and they tried him for a couple games, and he just wasn't there yet. This year maybe he is. I'm not sure. I think he drew like maybe 2 fouls all of last year, I want to say, in on the NBA level, but he really showed a willingness to get to the basket and play out of the inside first at summer league. So that's something that I'm intrigued by. If he can kind of bring that same level of aggression, obviously the NBA level is much different, but if he can bring something similar to that level, I think there's definitely a pathway to him playing that, and kind of the in-out game. If you need to spot up for three, make sure you're there for James and Kawhi to hit a shot for them. We saw last year he was there, but wasn't making those shots. So I think the pathway is there for Kobe. As for Jordan, I mean, I think he's had a 2-year, two-way deal. Um, I could see it. I mean, I'm not going to rule it out. It's definitely a possibility, especially with kind of the youth movement they might have. But they did add some guards with KPJ and Chris Dunn, who will play with James Harden. So, I think it should be there. It could be there. I just think the pathway is closer for Kobe than it is for Jordan. But that's not trying to take away one from another. Like I think they both could play this year, but we'll kind of see what they do.
Who do you kind of see Kobe Brown being at the NBA level? I've compared him to someone like Boris Diaw or even Slow-Mo a little bit, Kyle Anderson, with just the all-around game that he has. It seems like a jack of all
No.
trades, but a master of none right now. He's still a very young player, but I don't know if there's an elite skill set, but you can certainly get on the court if you do everything at a very solid level. Just, I don't know, who would you compare him to, or how do you think he would blend in now in his second season with the big club?
Yeah, I don't think he has a one skill set that sticks out from the other. I think he's the one thing I will say is this, and I said this last year. He's too quick for traditional fours, and he's too big for traditional threes. That's his greatest asset, in my opinion. So, like we saw, you put Kyle Filipowski on him again. Summer league's different, but you put a bigger man on him, he's blowing by him. He's bully balling him. You put a slower, faster guy on him, gonna bully ball him too. So like that, I think if they can work out different, he was doing a good job of finding mismatches. I will say that. Like Dante, that was the one thing he kept talking about. Like Kobe played within the offense and kept finding mismatches and things that worked for him that they wanted to attack in an offense. So I don't know how that directly translates to the NBA level because Kobe's not going to be asked to be a top 7 option on this team, you know. But I think there are different things that he does that could work. If you're throwing him out there to give you spot minutes, hit a three, pump fake, get to the basket, draw a foul, create for someone else who's overreacting on a drive. So, um, yeah, I think his again, no one great thing that he does, but I think he's got just the physical attributes and the overall skill set to be a solid 3 guy in the NBA.
So, Mayor, do you think that there's a possibility? Obviously, it feels like there's still a trade to be made for the Clippers. Whether or not that's for a major acquisition or anything like that, I don't expect that. But just to clear up maybe a little bit of space for these young guys, can you see that happening? Where obviously PJ Tucker, his name has been out there, Bones Highland, they're both still Clippers at this point. Russell Westbrook, we'll talk more about him coming up as he has a new team. But can you see them just kind of making way for an opportunity for a young guy by consolidating or making a move here?
Um, I think if you look at this team right now, like I would tell you if you just look at this team right now that Bones and PJ are obviously not in the rotation. They're just not. And so those are the two. We know what's going on with PJ. Those are the two candidates I would say probably are the most likely to be on their way out. If I had to guess, like I don't see either of them being on the opening night roster. Again, something could change, or they might kind of try to take this into the regular season and see. I think a lot of guys, once the new deals they signed this offseason, they're eligible to be traded around December. So maybe they take it to that point. You know, I could see a scenario where like they try to just waive PJ Tucker, take on the cap hit, and be done with it this year. They could also waive and stretch him, but that's I don't know if they want to do that. And PJ himself has said he's not taking a buyout. Maybe that changes. I don't know, but he said it multiple times that he's not going to take a buyout. So um, any trade, I think that
Player that good shouldn't have to.
any I think if you do include a trade with PJ, like Bones would be like the asset, the intriguing part of it, just off the potential. I think he's like what 22, 23. So there's still some room for him in the NBA. It's just I think this year especially was just a really really tough guard market for there wasn't really a market for guards. Like Tyus Jones is still waiting. Gary Trent just went for the minimum. It's absurd. So it's kind of a really tough time for these guards to be available and go on the market. So if I had to guess, I would say, Bones is probably included as the asset part of the trade with PJ. But I kind of would be surprised if either of them are on the team to start the year, just because I just don't see a role for them right here. They fully revamped that bench. They gave KPJ a multi-year deal, and clearly the intention is for him to play. This isn't just a Josh Primo situation. So, and then Chris Dunn obviously got a multi-year deal as well, part of the signing trade. So, their guard rotation, we haven't even talked about James and Terrence and Norm, who are still here. So, clearly those are their guards. I don't see Bones being in their plans. Definitely don't see PJ being in their plans. So, yeah, I would kind of expect some moves to be made here. Maybe not immediately, but at some point early this season. Yeah.
Adam, time for you to ditch the skeleton key.
Let me throw it out the door. The skeleton key, the holder of it, as I've been for so long. But yeah, I've been preparing myself for this likely scenario and possibility with Bones Highland no longer being on the team. We touched upon it a little bit with Jordan Miller and Cam Christie. Did it surprise you at all? I felt like Cam Christie stood up to the task defensively better than I thought he'd be at this point when he was technically still 18 playing in the summer league before just turning 19 right now. Like that narrative about him being such a liability on the defensive end and too small, he stayed in front of his man for the most part. What did you see from him? We know how beautiful the shot is, but just some of the other things, because it's going to be the other things that gets him on the court, really.
Yeah, I mean, I think Cam has the ability to turn into kind of the perfect complementary 3-and-D type guy. You can put him on one of the better opposing players. He'll be solid, won't get beat, and then he'll give you good 3-point shooting. Maybe he showed the one dribble pull up really well as well during summer league. Guys overreacted. He just took one dribble pulled up. Yeah, I think defensively he held his own. I think there's definitely going to be some growth there. I think he talked about with me about the differences in the NBA versus college, where you're forcing guys baseline versus middle. It's a big change schematically. So there's different things that he's still learning and getting acclimated to. And I think on the NBA level, it's going to be even more different than what we saw at summer league. So there's definitely a learning curve for him. But hey, they finally drafted someone, and no disrespect, but they finally drafted someone at a young age who has more time to develop. Again, just turned 19, if I'm not mistaken, yesterday, 2 days ago, I believe. So. There's a lot of room for improvement, a lot of room for growth there. I mean, like I was in Vegas for 11 days and couldn't even. What the hell was he doing? So
Getting buckets against Memphis.
clearly, yeah, clearly. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of room to grow there for him, and guys at that age, their body's still going to develop, still going to grow over time. They're going to mature even more. So, although I would say he is very mature. So, he's got kind of the physical attributes to be a solid defender. But we'll kind of see how he transitions into the NBA level. It's we'll see. He really is very similar to Max Christie, though. I will say he seems a little further ahead than Max Christie was when he first got in the league. But we'll kind of see how he develops over time.
I'm a big fan of Max Christie, so I love the compliment there of saying that he's even further along because to me, the NBA shot, I think it's there. I think it's real from him. He has a real skill set that can translate at this level. It's just whether or not he can do the little things right to stay on the court, not be a complete negative out there. Because that shot, I don't know. That looks like I don't want to say young Klay Thompson or anything like that, but you mentioned the relocation shots that he took. That is special. That is a really unique skill. The balance and the arc on his shot and just the peak and apex he gets to before the release is something else. I know
Yeah, I
we've
really
talked.
think I really was impressed with how he reacted, how he adjusted to defenses overreacting to his fakes. Like I think there were a couple that he just caught the ball, jabbed left, and you saw a defender just fly by, and he was able to just take one dribble, pull up long two. Not the most efficient shot, but again, if you're taking it off a one dribble, pull up wide open, like you got to take that shot. So, Dante Jones, I said, like, how are you evaluating him? Like, what are you looking for? He goes, shoot the ball, shoot. He's gifted as a shooter. Shoot the damn ball. That's what he said to me.
Let it fly. Will, you got anything else on Summer League before we take a break here?
No. Let's take a little break and talk Russell Westbrook.
We could do that. Why not? A little
Yeah.
bit of news.
So if you're listening to this, we're going to be taking a little break here. If you're watching this on YouTube at Clippers Podcast, we never go away. But anyways, Russell Westbrook talk coming up in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back in. I'm Adam Oslin. We got Will Updike and Tomer Azarly from Clutch Points is joining us here. Some off-season clips and dip still to come. We'll discuss Kawhi Leonard leaving Team USA. I know Tomer has some thoughts on that. Also, the most
Do
recent. No, you do. I've seen it on Twitter. Don't make me pull those tweets. I will. I am the
Deleting now.
receipt master.
Deleting now.
Also, Paul George, his latest, calling the Clippers organization the B team and getting fans up in arms. We'll talk about that too. But Russell Westbrook, I guess, in just doing a little bit of a recap on who he was as a Clipper, and then who do you think he's going to be with the Denver Nuggets? Because that is a really strange move to me for a team like that to bring in Russell Westbrook fit-wise. Once again, he's kind of replacing KCP. He did that when he came in with the Lakers. He's doing it now with the Denver Nuggets, but he's not a shooter. The skill set doesn't seem to match what exactly they need. But hey, it's Jokic and Mike Malone, and they can make a lot of different things work. But just how would you summarize his career, his tenure as a Clipper, Tomer?
I mean, I think it was mixed with lots of good and lots of bad. Like, he brought exactly what you needed him to during the regular season. And all the concerns that people had with him during the playoffs kind of just crept up. I thought the injury he suffered with the hand really kind of set him back. It was hard to kind of reintegrate him at that point when he was able to come back, and I think it was late in the season, if I'm not mistaken. So, just an unfortunate timing from that perspective. But he gave them a lot of what they needed. I mean, they had tons of slow starts during the year, and a few of those games they don't come back and win without him igniting them off that bench of the second unit. So I thought he was important from that aspect. But again, the biggest concerns that everyone was worried about with him being off the ball and just the kind of out of controlness of in the playoffs is exactly what happened. And Dallas was fully content with him taking corner threes and occupying the dunker spot. And I think on the ball he was probably his best, but even then he really did not finish around the basket the way he should have. And
8 for 42. 8 for 42 the last 5 games.
I thought individually defensively, he was good for them. I thought he was solid for them. He gave them something at the guard position, just something they didn't have at the guard position defensively, which I thought was intriguing. But again, it was just way too much to make up for offensively. Like again, I said this last year, just as the James Harden trade happened. Like they were not as good for sure with just Westbrook and no Harden. But I thought I was intrigued by what their ceiling might be. It wasn't championship, but I was intrigued by what it might be with him as the lone guard, kind of being the primary ball handler that Kawhi and Paul were asking for so long. Like I would just be curious to see a month of that and how it happened, But clearly their ceiling was increased with James Harden arriving here. The offensive 3-level score, the incredible playmaking. I can't count how many big moments he had this year, but I remember the game winner over the Rockets in the play-in tournament. There was the snow angel thing in the Rockets in the I guess the Pacers. There's so many great moments that he had. So the block attempt on Kawhi against the Blazers, that was another funny thing. So like no, I think James definitely increased their ceiling. At just at the end of the day, they got hampered by injuries once again. So
The real question is, which
Yeah.
Russ Stan account are you gonna miss the most in your mentions?
you know what's funny is I talk about everything in the NBA, literally everything in the NBA. I've committed all of my knowledge to it. It's come at the detriment of knowing certain NFL things or certain baseball things, but it's fully NBA. And today I just tweeted like I think the Nuggets got to be like they need generational Jokic and Murray, and it just Russ stands everywhere. And I'm like, bro, I didn't even mention this guy. Like, what are we doing? No,
Insecurities.
it's toxic. I mean, look, I think Russ for one thing, I will say Russ off the court was good to deal with. I think it was tough from a media perspective, but he wasn't like an ass or anything like that. There was like one time immediately after he got benched, but like I get it. He's frustrated. He just got benched, lost his starting spot. I get it. The team was on a losing streak, so it was tough. Um, but he was fine to deal with. I enjoyed working with him. He did a ton for the community, which he still does. I think he had like a food thing a couple of days ago here in LA with some kids. So like he really does a ton off the court as well that there really needs to be acknowledged. I mean, he had the park they renovated with his name. So off the court, he's great individual, great person to be around and work with, and he really does do a lot. But on the court, the product to me is just not there. Like um, I struggled to see the fit in Denver as well, given that I thought
I
Reggie
struggle
was a
to
much
see the
better.
fit anywhere. Like, where does he fit? Like in the
Well,
NBA at this
he
point?
fits somewhere. I mean,
He's a
he fits somewhere
zero
where he needs
level
the
scorer.
he
He
needs
doesn't
to.
score at any level anymore, Tomer.
I mean, he fits somewhere where he needs the ball in his hands and he can play make out of that. That's really where it works. So Denver is not that to me. Um, Now, if he's going there with the understanding that he's going to be a 6 to 7 minute a game guy, then maybe that works for him. I'm not sure, but I think that the biggest thing is you're just for lack of a better word, like
Oh, the Russ stance got to
you're
his
no
account.
longer the guy you're no longer going to be able to play 25 minutes a game and have the ball in your hands like you want to. And so I think a certain role makes sense for him on the right team. I don't think it's Denver. I don't think it was here once James Harden got here. Um, and so it's tough. I mean, again, we've seen stars in the NBA struggle to grasp with the fact that they're kind of getting phased out. And from that perspective, it does kind of suck because this is a guy who was, I think, the first is Oscar to average a triple double. Had that incredible 2017 year after KD left. Like he made everyone a fan of his, and it was really fun to watch. But I think from the basketball perspective, it's just slowly starting to be phased out, and so that's not easy. But I don't know where he belongs right now, but I'm looking forward to seeing Denver this year.
And going back to what Will originally asked you, what other player reminds you of just the polarization and toxicity on Twitter like
No,
Russ? Is there anything
no.
like that? I mean, Kobe was probably like that back in the day, but Twitter
Social
wasn't at
media
a
wasn't as
peak
strong.
then.
No,
Yeah.
no. There is nothing like it. I'm trying to think of one.
I
I
mean, I
will
guess
say
LeBron, you could say to an extent for some people, but it's
no. I will
different.
say
Like,
from a standum perspective, like if you want to say standum, like I think Derrick Rose has his fans are the most loyal people, and they're not that level of crazy, but that level of loyal. Like they are loyal to a fault with Derrick Rose. Like even after he suffered those injuries, they were just like, "Yo, he's this MVP season." Like, so I think to that level, like maybe not as delusional, but definitely as loyal. So I don't know.
well,
Again, I did not mind the Russell Westbrook experience covering him. Like it was great. He did provide a lot of good moments. I think the fans just really made it hard to say anything without just coming off as either a hater or a stan. Or it was just very strange. It was very strange from that perspective. I've never seen that before. Where
well,
you
you
say
said
one
it.
thing and it's like you say one thing and it's like you're a fucking hater. You fucking suck. I have dudes who are just calling me a fat ass out of nowhere all of a sudden. And then guys who were just like, you were this, you were that, you were cool. And I'm like, okay, like, I don't understand why it's other opposite end of the spectrum and not like somewhere in the middle. Like I've never had this from anyone else, but I guess I don't know. I guess I hate the guy. I don't know.
As you mentioned, you could critique anyone in the NBA. It is your job. You do analysis. But when you talk about this one particular player, for whatever reason, it gets people riled up and ready to go and just out of control. Before we break here and talk about Paul George and what he said on the podcast recently, you did bring up a really interesting point, I think, on Twitter as the Olympics are just getting underway today with the opening ceremony happening. And it was LeBron James holding the flag like he was George Washington crossing the Delaware. People were putting
That was epic. That
those
was
pictures.
epic.
Very cool. But notably missing, of course, is Kawhi Leonard, as we know. And it sounded like at first with that original press release from Team USA, Tomer, that it was this joint collaborative decision between Kawhi, the Clippers, and Team USA. And then I know I'm assuming you were at least on the call with Lawrence Frank when he came out and talked about the situation and stressed multiple times how very disappointed they were with Team USA's decision. First, just is that Lawrence Frank sticking up for his guy? Because obviously Kawhi's not going to have a presser. He's not going to be on social media talking about it. And this was just at least them saying, hey, what happened? We're frowning upon it. It wasn't viewed how Team USA viewed it. There were two different experiences going on with Kawhi leaving Team USA, it seemed like.
Yeah, so I'm just pulling up his transcript here from what Lawrence said. The quote from Grant Hill was that it was a collaborative effort with the Clippers. I believe they kind of jointly decided that. Lawrence Frank said it was USA's call, and I was quite frankly very disappointed with the decision. Kawhi wanted to play. We wanted him to play. Noted that he was there the first couple of practices, watched him, and he did well. Yeah, I don't know. I will say this. I think a lot of people did not read my tweet, and I expect that when people just have like certain things they want to be mad about, that happens. I get it. That was in no way a shot at Kevin Durant. Again, Kevin Durant's an all-timer. He's an Olympian. He deserves to have that chance to be there.
Give the
in my
backstory on
opinion,
that tweet you're talking about.
So I said that I just found it strange that, nearly 2.5 weeks later, this is a couple of days ago, that Kevin Durant still hadn't played. He'd barely been practicing, but he was still had a spot saved on Team USA, while Kawhi was removed after 4 practices in Vegas earlier this month, and not given a chance to recover properly. Excuse me. From what I understood, Kawhi practiced participated in all 4 practices, looked fine. There weren't any setbacks, and Lawrence Frank said that he in observing him, that they felt he was good to go. Steve Kerr, I believe, said that he was good, but I think there was room for improvement, and that goes with anyone who's coming off an injury. I would expect that with KD as well. And so I felt like I just thought it was strange that he was removed at the next morning, early morning, the day of the first game, after participating in 4 practices, and wasn't given a chance to really recover the way he should have. And again, Kevin Durant is an all-timer. He definitely should have the chance to heal as much as he wants. And in my opinion, if Kevin Durant stays on this whole run and doesn't play at all, he just still deserves to be there, because he's one of the greatest and he deserves that time to come back. I just didn't understand why Kawhi wasn't given that same time, given that he's one of the according to some of the quotes that came out of there, he was one of the 4 guys that kind of like ruled the last decade with LeBron, Steph, and KD. Kawhi's got 2 chips, led a couple of teams. There's a lot of respect for him there, and I was just surprised that he wasn't given that same kind of leeway. Like if you go into London, let's say last week, and it's not where you need to be, then you can kind of consider making a move or shifting it. I think there was a question about KD, and Steve Kerr said there was no consideration whatsoever in replacing him. Even though he hadn't played a game yet, which again is fine. You absolutely should not replace KD.
But why
he could miss a
Kawhi?
whole tournament, but I just didn't understand why Kawhi and why that early, where he came off 4 practices, sounded like he went well. There's a little bit of room for improvement, but not a big deal. He wanted to play. The Clippers say he wanted to play, and Team USA claims it was a joint effort. It just wasn't really adding up. And I understand if there's like Nike politics involved, and Oh, it's 3 black SUVs just pulled up.
Oh,
No, but
look
I
out,
understand
Phil Knight.
it. No, I understand if there's I just don't buy that as an easy excuse. Like, I don't know. I saw on Twitter like KD's guy went out and said, "Well, it's because they needed another guard." I'm like, "Well, if you need another guard, I just saw Tyrese Halliburton get benched, like for the last game. I don't even think he played that much if he played at all. So I don't think it's a guard thing. And I've seen people say the Nike thing, and I'm like, oh, I don't know. Would you really be that salty? Like Steph Curry's is an Under Armour guy. Like Joel Embiid's a Skechers guy. Like I understand they're different, companies, but like what? We're really gonna do this over a brand? Like I don't know. Maybe that is the case. I don't know. Kawhi's trainer came out. Clint Parks said that it was some Nike politics and brand stuff. We all know about the lawsuit he had with Nike and a couple of years ago about the logo. So I don't know. I don't think there's a simple answer here. I don't think we'll ever know the truth here. I do know that, from what I understand, Kawhi was planning to be in Paris. Kawhi was planning to play in the Olympics. He was working very hard to get there, and up until the day he was removed from the team, he thought he was going to be in Paris, from what I understand. So, again, understanding that we'll probably never know the full truth behind it, I'm of the belief that this was a Team USA call for whatever reason. But again, it's hard in this situation because you can't take everything the Clippers say at face value. You can't take everything the Team USA says at face value. Like the Clippers refused to address whether Kawhi had a procedure this offseason. That's kind of weird. Why would you fail? Would you fail? It's a yes or no question. I followed up. I said, hey, like just following up because you're opening it for speculation by not answering that. Did Kawhi have a procedure? And Lawrence Frank was not open to detailing anything like that. So
Correct me if I'm wrong, Tomer, but he said something to the effect of if it was something more serious, we would have reported whether or not he had a procedure.
that sounds accurate.
Because you did press about that. I found that interesting. Because a lot of people have speculated that when Kawhi came into camp and said, Will, what was the quote? It was something to the effect of, I had a turnaround within the last couple of weeks. We were thinking, does that mean the swelling's been going on since then? Or
I think he said no. I think what the quote was that he was ready to go within like 2 or 3 weeks before that. Like, he was actually feeling like himself, like on the court doing everything he needed to. So the quote that from Lawrence Frank when I asked him that follow-up question, I said, just to clarify, you open up for speculation, did he or did he not undergo a procedure at the end of last season? He says, I'm not going to talk about any specific treatments, whether it's Kawhi or anyone else. If a player has significant surgery, we always announce those things. But in the offseason, guys are always getting maintenance things that we just don't comment on.
if a player had significant surgery, we would announce those things.
So is there a minor surgery?
Is a cleanup procedure minor?
I don't know. Again, see, you just open up for speculation by doing this. And so when you do that, it's hard to take everything that people say at face value. Like, do I believe that it was fully on Team USA? Do I believe that it was fully on the Clippers? Did Kawhi just decide he didn't want to play anymore and wanted to focus on the season, and everyone's kind of taking the hit for him? Like, it's hard to tell. It's really hard to guess what that is. So I don't want to speculate too much, but because it's really hard to guess. But it sounds like, based off Lawrence Frank coming out and saying we're disappointed with the decision. I feel like you don't do that, and kind of call someone out without some kind of substance being there. And so I really think it was a Team USA call at that point. And for why, I don't know specifically, but it sounds like it was our call.
Will, how do you feel about the seemingly double standard between Kawhi and KD and how they handled them with Team USA?
Well, I mean, KD has more of a history with Team USA. I think that makes sense that he would get like the benefit of the doubt. So yeah, I don't know. It's just it's hard to say at the end of the day, like what was the final straw or what was like the full contribution to that decision. I don't necessarily believe that it was like a brand politics thing. While like that might have played a minor factor, I doubt that that's the extent of the situation.
Yeah.
I was really excited about, Kawhi volunteering to play Team USA basketball. I thought that was going to be really good for him, especially coming off an injury, to see at a competitive level, like where he's really at, how the knee would respond. But knowing that there could have been some sort of procedure that apparently wasn't major enough to let us know about it, it doesn't make me feel great about the situation. But again, I still feel like if he was good enough to go, as half of the situation seems to think. I would have liked to see him get the shot.
Yeah, I think just to follow up, like I think it's not really that Kawhi was just sent home. Like I think if if he goes to London or if he goes to Abu Dhabi and tries to play a game and plays well, but maybe the swelling comes back a little bit or there's concerns about his health, then you can say, okay, we might need to we should replace him because we don't know if he can give it a go the whole way. Like that makes sense. But you didn't even give him an opportunity, in my opinion, to even get in game action. And what are you gonna need from Kawhi with this kind of team? 8 minutes a game, 10 minutes a game, like. You're not going to need that much. So not really giving him an opportunity to even get to one of the other countries and play a game, considering you have a guy on the sidelines who hasn't played with the calf strain in a month now, like it's just strange to me. Yeah, it's not the fact that they sent Kawhi home, it's that they sent him home so early without an opportunity to see him play.
That's a great point. That's a great distinction.
Maybe they saw him play and weren't happy with what they saw during those practices, but Lawrence Frank said he looked good, and I'm gonna assume
he seemed to
he's not lying
indicate
to us.
that. Because Lawrence Frank said something else to the degree of like, we know how he looks in practice. Like we've been around him for 5 years. We know how he should look when he's right. And Team USA, maybe, obviously Coach Lou knows too. But that's just, it's so strange. It's so mysterious. I know a lot of people could be saying in the comments, well, Kawhi's so injury prone. That's why KD.
That doesn't matter.
Well, and KD's missed about the same amount of games as Kawhi has since 2019. Like they both have been injury prone.
He's missed more.
Coming off the Achilles, and now you're talking about a calf injury with him. That's not something you can downplay.
And this is a guy who played on a calf injury during the finals and ended up tearing his Achilles. Exactly. So like, you're being extra careful with a guy has dealt with a history of calf issues. So like again, it's not that they cut Kawhi. It's when they cut Kawhi without even a chance to play in one of the games. Again, I think if he plays in a game, the knee swells up a little bit, and you're not comfortable with how he looks, that's totally understandable because I think you gave it a shot. But bringing him all the way to Vegas, having him work a bit of an accelerated timeline to get ready for Vegas in that training camp, and then just be like, all right, see ya. Like that doesn't make sense to me. And there was that report during the finals. I remember I actually asked Grant Hill. It's strange how that timing worked because I remember I approached Grant Hill after game 2 of the finals. I approached Grant Hill, introduced myself, said who I was. I was like, hey, have you had any discussions or do you know what's going on with Kawhi? Have you heard any updates? I know he's dealing with the knee swelling. And he said, no, I haven't. I haven't spoken with Lawrence or Kawhi yet. And then like a day and a half later, Woj reports that thing during the game, saying that Derek White's a candidate to replace Kawhi. And that to me was just like that's a strange timing moment. Like I'm not taking credit for it. I just thought it was strange that I asked him about it. There was nothing about Kawhi for weeks. And then all of a sudden when I asked that Derek White thing came up. And that was not a month. It was 2.5, 3 weeks before they were supposed to show up to training camp. So I don't know. The whole situation was very strange. It didn't really make a lot of sense. Like the fact that there was a replacement publicly considered that way 3 weeks before was also very weird. Like you can have replacements in mind and those usually aren't reported, but the fact that a specific name was reported as a replacement that early was strange.
It seems almost like they were setting him up to fail, where if they see any indication that he's not completely, fully 100% or has the most bounce out there that, oh, I guess we got to go to Derek White. Like this was maybe something in the works early on. You should take credit for that, Tomer.
I mean, look, I don't want to go that far because I don't want to speak for anyone.
No, I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah, it's a weird little sensitive matter with Kawhi. You know that we're never going to ever get the truth. We'll try, but we'll probably never get the truth. It's just a very, very strange scenario that I've never had to cover something so strange where it's like, wait, all around just completely strange. Not given a chance to play in the game. Cut the morning of that the exhibition game against whoever they played.
Canada.
Canada. There you go. Yeah. It was just the whole situation was very, very strange. It didn't really make a lot of sense to me. Still doesn't, but I thought he deserved a chance to be there, and unfortunately, he's not. So, Lawrence Frank was undoubtedly sure that he'd be ready for training camp. Said he was good to go. So again, it's just a very, very confusing situation to start the month with that camp stuff.
As we Hardy boys our way through this mystery, or Nancy Druid here, the only other thing I could think of was the day before they cut him, the Tuesday before the Wednesday game against Canada. I believe is when he said the knee is in a neutral state. And I wonder if that made them think that, okay, this is going to be something recurring.
So, what does neutral state mean?
I just feel it's not swollen. I would guess it's not swollen or it's not sore or, it hasn't been inflamed. I would just guess that him talking like that might have sent maybe a red flag. I don't know. Did they read into that?
Interesting. I just didn't know. I saw that floating around Twitter. I just didn't know how to take that. Like, to me, that was good news. Like, I don't know how I don't know how to take that. I always took it. Okay, that means the swelling is not there, which is what you want. It's either swollen or not, right? That's pretty much how it should be.
But it could be interpreted as, but it's always in the back of his mind, or it could be lingering. It's okay right now,
But that's out of his
could
control.
Right.
You
But
do
because
what
he
you
spoke
can,
about it, it makes it seem like it's on his mind too. So therefore, it's still a very fresh situation with the knee.
I mean, these guys have their medical people there. I'm sure the Clippers probably sent their own as well. Like,
Of
they had
course.
evaluations being done. It wasn't like he was just practicing 4 days and they're like, "Oh, Kawhi, you suddenly feel something?" Like, no, I'm sure they were evaluating him day to day, especially him. So
I just am I'm trying to get into the mind of like, why would Team USA do it right then too? And that did come out the day before. I don't know. It's weird. We'll take a quick timeout. We'll come back. We'll get into some more weird stuff with Paul George as we have Tomer Azarly with us here on Clips and Dip. Commercials coming your way in 3, 2, 1.
All right, we're back in the Clips and Dip with special guest Tomer Azarly of Clutch Points. All right, so we got to talk about the Paul George stuff. Adam, I don't think we've talked about this on the show yet. Paul George, up to the same old stuff, putting his foot in his mouth publicly. We recently heard on the Podcast P show that he kind of viewed the Clippers as the B team, of course, to the Lakers. And there is some context to this, I guess. Like, people want to talk about the context that he was talking about. This is how maybe his friends or something made him feel. I think the thing, if you're a Clippers fan or if you've been following Paul George, is it's just a complete 180 from what he said when he signed, that he grew up a Clippers fan, and it's just it's all very bizarre. It's all very on brand for Paul George and what we know of him. Tomer, did these comments surprise you? Has anything about PG and the way he's kind of carried himself surprised you since the exit and his introduction in Philadelphia there?
Yeah, those comments actually did surprise me. Yeah, I don't know why you would kind of burn that. I don't know, burn that bridge, but kind of what's the word on your way out? What's the phrase? I don't know what the phrase is, but he kind of just
burn the bridge on the way out.
Sure, yeah. I don't know why you would do that. Like, Clipper fans had to watch you have like 3 straight non-healthy postseasons, like, and they still showed up and supported them by your jersey. Like, you don't need to do that. So I definitely was surprised that I'm not surprised he felt a certain way. I'm surprised that he went out and just said that. Like, the podcast, as great as it has been for setting him up for a media career, and I think he definitely does have one because he's great at it. It sets him up so much because he just talks too much. Just being honest, like, I think he just says too much of what's on his head, and you don't have to do that all the time. To me, if you're actually an LA native, you know what the situation here is in LA. It's no question. It's no question. You came here. You were acquired to try and change that to become the A team. They gave up the haul to try and for you to try and help you, for you to help turn the organization into the A team. That's never going to happen in LA. We know that the Lakers and Laker fans run LA. They've been here forever. They're a historic franchise. And I don't even think
in the history of sports.
I don't even think it's about that. You just have to go and carve your own niche and do things for yourself. Whether it's reach the conference finals for the first time, like that was a big moment. Reach the finals for the first time. Like, I don't think that even matters. And if you're secure with yourself and who you are, like, I don't know, those comments screamed insecurity to me, because I'm like, what the situation is like in LA. Yeah, like, what the situation is in LA. Like, of course, like, are you telling me you let a couple Laker fans kind of dissuade you or mess with you mentally? Like, why was that even on your mind? That's the thing for me, where it's like, again, Clipper fans, Clipper play, like, they know what it is, and I think if you're making millions of bucks and millions of dollars, and you're playing for a high level organization, like, that doesn't even matter. That legitimately should not even matter. Why does anything an opposing team's fan even matter to you? That's just what I can't kind of wrap my head around. Like, how much shit do people do fans here take? Like, why does it matter? You're you're playing for the LA Clippers and a top notch organization. They're paying you top dollar, and you're always contending for a championship or attempting to, anyways. Like, why does that matter? Why? I don't know. I understand there was some context around it that may have been missing, but to me, that also doesn't matter because that quote alone kind of says it all.
And even if
So
there was context, you know how people are going to take that. Like, they're like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? You know what NBA media is. You know exactly how that's going to be interpreted.
Yeah, so I was genuinely confused by that. Like, if people were saying he said the same thing last year when he had Terrence Mann on the podcast, and that's not true. Saying Laker fans let you hear it and saying I'm on the B team, that's the vibe, is very different. And again, not that he should care too much about it, but just don't shit on people on the way out. Fans or
That's the
uh,
phrase.
people who are trying to you know trying to get this organization to where they want to be. Like, I don't think you need to do that. Like, you got your max money. No one on earth is going to criticize you for wanting to take an extra $60 million in a year. You should 100% do that. I would do that. Any one of us would do that 100%. Just don't talk too much on the way out and kind of burn those bridges and make it look bad. I don't know. That's the thing for me. Um,
Speaking of that,
you can't keep saying stuff you said was taken out of context, because that's not true.
yeah,
There was a lot of stuff that he said was taken, like when he said, "I'm not the right." He said, "Championship is not my number one priority in free agency. It's the right style of basketball." That is immediately a shot at James Harden and the Clippers, to me. And so you can't say that was taken out of context. You can't out of nowhere say, "I'm the B, I'm the two, he's the one, I'm the one B, he's the one A,"
Were you
and
in the
then say that
locker
was
room when he said it, Tomer?
yes, yes, yes. You can't say that was taken out of context, because it wasn't. The proper context is being applied. You just said what you said. And maybe you didn't like how people reacted to it. Like, was there context missing when he said we don't have an identity? No, the proper context was applied, and everyone around him was pissed off because of that. So
Seems like he talks out of both sides of his mouth a little too much sometimes. Like, he gets himself in trouble unnecessarily. He put a target on his own back in this situation because a lot of Clippers fans now are saying, "Oh, well, I'll be there your first time back and ready to boo you now." And I don't think that was the case at first because, like you said, $72 million more. I'm not going to hate on a guy for that.
no. I think he definitely has a case, still has a case, regardless of the comments, to being one of the best Clippers ever.
Yeah.
He was like Game 5 Utah, Game 5 Phoenix, like, incredible performance. He makes 2 free throws, they probably go up, 2-1 in that series, heading back to Game 4 in LA. So, like, there's so many what ifs, but, like, he definitely has a case for one of the best Clippers of all time. I just don't think you need to do this on the way out. Like, go to Philly, enjoy your time, enjoy your money, worry about that. Like, people are like, why are Clipper fans talking about this and that? Well, he's coming at them. That's why he's shitting on them for no reason, and in a way, kind of going at some of us by saying we took his comments out of context. When no, we did not take them out of context. We gave them the proper amount of context. You just said stuff that didn't make sense.
The only way they could be taken out of context is if right afterwards he said, "Just kidding, I always want to be the number one." And that didn't happen. Everything there it's a minute-long clip. I put it up. Like, it's not hard. No one's reading into this. He went out of his way that day. He's talking about LeBron and Dwayne Wade in Miami, as you know, Tomer, being in the locker room when it happened. And then he jumped right into, and just to be clear, I'm the number 2 here. And he went so far to say that he's not even 1B. He's the number 2, not 1A to 1B, which is much closer. He's number 2.
Yeah, and that comment actually pissed off Tyronn Lue to the point where Ty had to talk to him about that. He's like, no, I don't need you to be the number 2. You got to act like a 1. if it happens to fall in a way where you're taking a backseat on one night, that doesn't make you the two, you know. Um, so that I know he wasn't happy about those comments, and that's where after that, PG kind of clarified he was kind of annoyed, and he's like, "Well, no, I'm the one B, he's the one A. It doesn't really matter. We're both working together, yada yada." So, no, again, one of the greatest Clippers ever. Just kind of kills himself, beats himself up with his own comments. Unfortunately, um, that's the that's the really strange truth. Like I think everyone looks at Paul's time fondly here until he made those comments, and it's like, well, it's no reason for that. No reason. Even with the injuries, people look at his time fondly here because he was still, again, all-time 3-point leader in the regular season. Like he made history as a 3-point shooter. He got to the conference finals. There's so much that he did. Um, being from LA, all the comments you said about being a Clipper fan, being from LA, and then you turn around and do this, it's just so strange. It doesn't make sense at all.
Yeah, yeah. I don't ever really get what that guy is thinking. But now that Paul George is sort of out, you talked about the Clippers sort of their approach to revitalizing this bench. Where do you see the Clippers at right now? Like in terms of like would you call it a rebuilding phase? Like where are they at right now, and what do you think their ceiling is as constructed, or if there's a move that you could see?
I wouldn't directly compare it, but this seems similar to the 2017-18 year after Chris Paul left to Houston, where they retained one of their stars. I believe they signed Blake Griffin that offseason to a max deal.
40, that was they missed the playoffs, and that was the 41 win year.
That was the
or 42
and 40 year. Yeah, that was the Milos Teodosic, the Blake Griffin. Austin Rivers fell on Blake's knee. Gallo played 19 games. Boban and Tobias got here later that year. Yeah. I think they're definitely in a transitional phase, but by no means are they just like punting on the season. Like they still owe a couple of draft picks to OKC. So they have to remain competitive. And I think this is my opinion. This is not at all what anyone else is saying. Is my opinion. The league is trending more towards like 2-star led teams as opposed to 3-star teams, just because it's much harder to build a team, an actual team, in this new CBA. Like you can't just do 3 stars in minimums. That doesn't work. It no longer works unless those stars are like even with the Suns, like Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, 2 of the best offensive players in the NBA. Didn't they just get swept last year?
4. Yeah. Minnesota took him out in 4 and dumped on KD on the way out. Was in.
Yeah. So like I personally don't believe the way to build teams anymore is a 3-star system. I think it's more so and the Clippers don't even have a max player on this roster. If you look at it, they don't have a max player anywhere. They have Kawhi under the max, they have James Wade under the max, and they have a bunch of complementary guys around them. So they're really trying to build a good team here. So I can kind of appreciate the attempt here to build a solid team. And honestly, I think if Paul was willing to accept the 3-150, which right around that ballpark, which I think if it was on the table to end, like if he accepted that, they would have been a second apron team this year, but they would have probably been under the second apron if they navigated that correctly. And so for next year, they would have been under the second apron next year. So like that would have allowed them to, again, it's tight, not a lot of margin for movements, but you can do something around there. So I think they were still willing to give him that and navigate around that. But now that he's gone, I mean, that opened up the non-taxpayer mid-level, obviously the MLE, the biannual exception, which they gave Batum. And so like I think it really helped them build an actual team around. So the sign and trade for Chris Dunn. They're under the first apron. They have a legitimate team with some guys around, very movable pieces if they find out they need to move one eventually. And if you look at how all the contracts line up, most of them are kind of either like an option for that last year in 26-27, which 26-27, which is that free agency is what they're kind of targeting, some of the big guns. If you look at that free agency, there's a lot of guys that they're that may become available. Maybe they sign extensions, maybe they don't. And you always leave the possibility that a star is disgruntled and requests to trade. So I think they did the right thing in not really caving to any demands, maintaining their flexibility, staying under that first apron, and getting a bunch of complimentary guys. You can kind of see what you have here. Like I think Chris Dunn is a really solid guard. He's not gonna, give you 20 a night, but he'll be able to be your point of attack defender at the guard position. He's a really smart guy. Doesn't gamble too much. A solid defender. Like Derrick Jones Jr. would not have been available if they re-signed Paul. And so Derrick Jones is another really good defender who I think you want around Kawhi and James in order to reduce that workload. So they did a really good job building an actual team around these Kawhi and James and maintaining flexibility in 26-27.
Last question for me, because you brought it up and it kind of reminded me of me tweeting you and getting some clarity on the situation with the contract with Paul George. Do you believe what he said on his podcast? Because he presented it as if the 3 for 150 wasn't there until later. Do you believe it wasn't there around the All-Star break or before they tabled talks?
So my understanding of this is that the 260 that he was offered was part of an extension,
It's
but it was
110.
I believe it was like a starting point
Yeah.
extension type of thing, where like obviously you can negotiate your way up if you want, and that's kind of how business works. We'll start low, you start high, we'll meet in the middle. Like that's just how it works. And so I think that was more of like the baseline minimum extension that would include him opting in next year, I believe. So like that part wasn't included either.
No, he acted like they really were just offering 2 for 60 when it would be him opting in for 50 plus the 60, so it's 110 as your starting point.
Yeah, so it was a little different, but yeah,
Do you think they'd offered him before, free agency opened up, that it was there 3 for 150 at some point during the season?
Before free agency opened up, my understanding is that there was a 3-150 on the table. I don't believe that was on the table at All-Star break. I think he was still looking for a 4-year or a max at that point. But I think as free agency got near, he was more willing to accept a 3-150. But I think that's where he mentioned the no trade clause. And my understanding was that he did request a no trade clause. But the Clippers were just not willing to include that. Again, that kind of limits their ability to do anything at that point. And I think with respect to Paul, you do want to have him, but you also want to keep your options open.
There's what, 2 NTCs in the league right now? Like how many players even have an NTC at this point?
I don't even know. I have no idea. I couldn't even tell you. I think maybe does LeBron have one?
LeBron has one, and
I think LeBron has one.
I think Bradley Beal.
Bradley Beal
maintains his, yeah.
Yes.
And people thought when he signed that extension, they thought it was insane to give him a no trade clause, and he wasn't 34 years old.
And you saw what Washington had to do. They had to find a way to get him, and they didn't get much back for him. So like, yeah, that complicates things at that point. So yeah, my understanding is they weren't willing to just give him a no trade clause. Even at 3-150, they weren't willing to give him that. And they weren't willing to go above because, I think you have to understand, like, look at it this way. I think when James arrived, I think there was understanding that, okay, all three of us are going to have to take some kind of pay cut in order to make this work. We can't just max all of you. Like, it doesn't work that way. And so I think even if you even look back to training camp in Hawaii, we asked Paul about extension talks, and he goes, "Yeah, we're good, but we still have to meet at the right number." So even back then, he was saying that we're not there yet. So, I think at the end of the day, you just again hard to turn down another 70 million or whatever that ended up being, 60 million. Like I think I'm doing that. I don't care if I have to live in Philly for an extra year. I'm doing that. $70 million is generational money. But the 3-150 was there. I think at that point, just wanted a no trade clause. And, I think the last thing I will say on that, I think you also have to, consider from the Clippers perspective, the relationship part of it, where, if you tell Kawhi, James, and Paul, hey, this is what we want to sign you guys to, it'll work for all of us and we can build a team around you. Okay. So James plans to sign that whenever it happens, whenever free agency happens. If Kawhi signed his extension when he did, so then you can't turn around and then give Paul way more than you gave Kawhi or way more than you planned to give James, because then they're like, wait, what about me? I thought we had an agreement. And you might kind of mess some relationships up like that. So, and I don't think that's how you do things. You can't do that, obviously. So, James signed pretty quickly or agreed pretty quickly after free agency. I think they knew they wanted to continue their partnership together. Kawhi had his back then in January, and I think it was very clear. I mean, I'd been writing. It was kind of trending in that direction that he was just going to be gone that final month. Heading into the finals, it just felt like he was on his way out. He felt kind of disrespected by the Clippers offer, and he would want to get that 4-year deal. So he did. Congrats to him. That's life-changing money, and I look forward to seeing how everyone involved does.
Very diplomatic answer.
No, honestly, he said, "I'm looking forward to the scrutiny and the criticism from Philly fans." Okay, I want to see it.
Believe it when I see it, pal. I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah.
That's just tough thing because, like, again, Paul had such a great tenure here with the Clippers. He was really great with us in the media. Like, he was solid with fans. Like, fans love the podcast. Like, it just didn't need to go there. It really didn't. That was
They
it.
got his podcast off the ground. The Clippers fans did. It's not. It may not be going right now if it wasn't for Clipper Nation supporting it from the ground floor.
I mean, I don't know. Best of luck to him, though. He was a joy to cover. 5 years here. He was always great with us in the media. I will say that. Like, regardless of how much he said, like, I think he tried his best to be open and forthcoming with anything that we had to ask. And I think from that perspective, you appreciate that. You definitely want that. It helps you understand the bigger picture a bit more. So I think from that aspect, nothing but appreciative. I'm appreciative for my time covering him. He was great with us. Considering you have Kawhi, who doesn't really speak that much, James, who wasn't a big talker, Russ, who we know is not a big talker. Like, Paul was the one guy who would speak. So definitely appreciative to him for that.
We appreciate you and all your time today here, Tomer, on Clips and Dip, my friend. Well, if there's nothing else, you want to let the people know where they can find this pod?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks again, Tomer, for joining us. You can check out Clips and Dip over on YouTube. That's at Clippers Podcast. Or you can listen to us wherever you get your podcasts. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify. We're on Amazon Music. We're everywhere. Anywhere you can find us. If you happen to listen over on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, go ahead. Leave a little rating review. We'd appreciate it.
Wow. Amazon even got Clips and Dip. Wow.
Bezos
What an
has
off
all
We're
of us.
lining Bezos's pocket over here.
What an off season for Amazon.
As he sells his stock, maybe we're the reason why. Tomera, thanks again for doing this. Where can people find you? Where can people read your work?
I know. Thank you guys for having me. It's always fun to be on the Clips and Dip show. I'm missing Chuck again. Shout out. But no, you can find my stuff on Twitter on clutchpoints.com. My handle is TOMERAZARLY. I have a story with Jordan Miller coming out in the next couple of days. I have one with Jason Tatum that I did that's coming out in the next day or two. Just had one with Donovan Mitchell. Also spoke with the Christie brothers, Max and Cam Christie in Vegas. So, you can find my stuff there. Find it on Clutch Points, Twitter. I'm not calling it X. Instagram, and I think that's pretty much it. Oh, I have a cool little Norman Powell workout video. I got to watch one of his workout videos and workouts in Vegas. So I'm putting together a nice little compilation video of him that I'll probably be posting soon as well. So,
what song are you going to use?
That's tough because, dude, I've gone. I thought about reaching out to him like, hey, Drake, Kendrick, like, what are we doing here? Because you spent 6 or 7 years in Toronto, but I know that you've been in LA now. I don't know. It's tough. I'm undecided.
We know where DeMar DeRozan's allegiance lies. In the "They Not Like Us" video. My God, Drake's hurt.
In the video. That's how. I'm glad he was involved in that video, though. I will say, because for a while I thought he said Derrick Rose or D Rose.
I thought that too.
DeRozan. I thought he meant Derrick Rose. I'm like, why are you mentioning Derrick Rose? But I don't know. I'm not going to question Kendrick.
Well, he also said that video Joel Osmond, and instead of Haley Joel Osmond, he said the preacher swindler guy.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he's just talking about the Sixth Sense, and he messed that up too. So whatever. It's cool. It's K-Dot. He can do whatever he wants.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm not going to question it. Do your thing, man.
Will, you want to get us out of here?
Yeah. Thank you so much, everybody who listened or watched this. And as our not here co-host always says, let's go.